Kids have a lot of energy and excitement and juice. I think you saw that today, and it's great to have the students down the field with us also for some activities. So overall, very positive.
You said on Tuesday that was the best practice for the offense. Was today kind of just a carryover? Have you really started to see the progress that you wanted to on that side of the ball last week?
Yeah, we've made, we asked for the last 14 days to the last 2 weeks. We've stated pretty hard to the kids that we need to take some big steps on offense and defense. I really believe the offense has done that especially the last 2 practices. And just, at the timing all of a sudden starts to click, and the throws are there, and then we're making that extra block downfield, and what was going to be a 10-yard gain turns into whatever's left. So big positive steps. Very calm. There's not a lot of panic out there. When our ones and our twos were running and there wasn't a bunch of positions being changed, I felt like they had a good calmness and competed well on offense and defense, which is, it's good to have that feel when you're out there behind a huddle.
When we see Seth in these scrimmage situations, he's always doing something to excite the fans. He had a hurdle play. I think he got flipped over. Were you pleased with what you saw from him?
Yeah, Seth played the best he's probably played consistently for a long period of time today, and that was great to see. He is. It's great to have a kid walk up to you and say, "Thanks, Coach, for the opportunity to be here." After it's pretty cool. He's very, very happy to be part of Oregon State football and be part of Oregon State University. I thought he has really grown up. Thank goodness he came out early. Last couple of weeks he's matured, as well as Nick has, and as well as Marcus. But Seth, now we've got to learn to control that youthful excitement, right? I mean, we can't be diving and hurdling people for 2 yards in the Pac-12 on a consistent basis, but there's something inside of you that says, you sure like his want to make those plays also.
Is he the front runner for the job right now?
No, I'm not ready to say anything besides where we sat. I said a couple of days ago I think that Marcus has done some good things as he's been out there, and but we'll go into 1A and 1B just like we did with Seth and Nick. And the big step now is, how is that quarterback or those quarterbacks going to run the offense when we get into the player-ran practices? Those are so important to what we do and how we continue to grow for the rest of this quarter, and then as we go through summer. So there's so much that goes into it. I don't think 15 days can tell the tale, and it has not told the tale in this case. But the summer will also help.
As a whole, the white offense under Seth came out to a very quick start. What did you see out of them?
Yeah, I thought that that was really the ones and functioning regardless of who was a quarterback, but that was the rest of the ones that were out there with him. Again, they looked like they knew what they were doing. It was just there wasn't a lot of panic. There wasn't a lot of what do I line up, where do I go. The communication was clean and crisp. If things didn't go well on first down, they lined up. It was 2nd and 10. They lined up and they just played again. And then there was some plays that were made. So they were the white offense was very effective early, and it's great to see.
What do you think of Marcus Greaves today? And is he a guy that you could see maybe working himself into the mix a little bit? Yeah, Marcus is grown and developed. And the great thing, Marcus and many of those other young players that didn't get as many practice reps in, with the ones or the twos, if you will. Today everybody was a 1 or a 2. And they took advantage of it. Marcus did today. He took advantage of the situation. He knew what he was doing. He made some plays and got himself in the spot to have an opportunity, and seized the opportunity and did the best he could with it. So he's moving forward and has gotten better. Definitely from practice 1 through practice 15, I believe that young man's gotten better every day.
Chris Brown did some nice things
Yeah.
today too. What did you say?
Much more physical running out of Chris. I would go back to the last 2 weeks after, I suppose it was the week after spring ball. I felt like he really came back on that Saturday and ran pretty good, but we talked about getting more physical, and Coach Lockett was grinding it, and it's important to Chris. But his physicality, his vision is proved. It's not easy to go from under center and taking handoffs under center and all of a sudden be running sideways and taking handoffs. That takes time, and all the running backs have really just adjusted. They seem to be seeing things better and cutting better. It's just repetition, and it'll continue to help him in the summer. But he is become a physical young man in the last few practices, and that's great to see.
Coach, talk about the running game and how it really kind of went, in a good way right off the bat and really set the tone for the game.
Yeah, I think our ability to be able to run the football, and again, with the defense that we played today, we should have had the opportunity to be productive in the running game. It was an emptied out box a little bit at times and playing cover 2, which is not a great way to stop the run, but we did take advantage of it again. That's important. I think we ran the ball fairly well all spring long. And if we're going to be a good football team, we are going to have to be physical at the point of attack. We're going to have to be physical and run the ball effectively in the fourth quarter. And that's going to tell a big tale for this next season as we move forward. But the run game has gotten better. Our pad level, our assignments, our finish, the running backs, the reads of the quarterbacks, it's definitely progressed, but it has a long ways to go.
What do you want to see between now and fall?
I want to see them take advantage of every moment, because we are chasing a lot of very, very good people, and we are far from arrived in our own conference, let alone throughout the country. So, you know, Monday's a discretionary week where coaches can't have kids do anything and strength coaches can't have kids do anything. I want to see a football team, first and foremost, that makes sure that they get better next week without coaches watching over them and seeing where they're going and what they're doing. That's a big step for us, and that's in a very short period of time. That's next week. Then we got to get stronger. I mean, number one priority is we have got to become a stronger program, and what we put in our bodies every single day, how we carry ourselves, our nutrition is just as important as our workouts over the next however many months it is until we come back for fall camp, and then continuing to speak the same language on offense, defense, and special teams within our schemes.
Just evaluate the spring practice, I should say. What are the main differences you've seen from day one all the way to today?
The biggest difference is just, you know, the kids know where they're going. They know what they're doing. You have to earn your way sometimes in football to make a play, and other times people give you layups, and because they make a mistake or they have an administrative penalty. We've made major strides in that in spring, and you should, from day one. When you don't know what you're doing, it's the first day to day 15, you sure better make some great strides in that area, and we definitely did. I think that showed up today within the scrimmage itself. We became physical as a football team, and they handled physical practices very well. And you know, it's a challenge when you walk in and you're going to tell a team that they're going to take a physical spring such as the spring that these kids just went through. And you know, I'm a senior, or I'm a guy that started a whole bunch of games, and most of the country doesn't practice that way. But these kids are unselfish enough to understand that's what this team needs. And none of us ever even looked backwards or looked sideways because we were going physical all the time, and that's a credit to the kids.
If we go back to the summer, how do you handle those types of workouts? I mean, the NCAA changed that rule last year where the coaches are allowed to be a little more involved. Kind of what's your approach to how you want to handle those?
There's a couple things to that. The NCAA did give us some time. The one thing I will not do is I will not make football obnoxious, and I will not make kids, you know, just get browbeaten with football, and I will not do the same thing for our coaches. So our coaches have the opportunity this summer to be with their families, take time off, they'll get their full vacation. When they're in town, they'll use those hours that they can use to meet with the positions, and they'll use them very effectively. But we have really good coaches. We can cross paths and help other positions at certain times so we'll use those hours when needed. Probably not going to use every one of those hours. I want the kids fresh-minded. The player ran practices, the player situations where they get in, they go out and play catch, the offense throws the ball, those are just as important as our coaches spending, you know, 45 minutes twice a week with them or whatever the time restraints are. Will we get better and use that time? Yes. But I think it's more on the kids in the summer than it's on the coaches and the kids.
As a whole, is this team where you wanted it to be at the end of spring practice?
I would say from an offense and a defensive standpoint, you know what, I feel pretty comfortable, especially after the last week. But again, I go right back to the next one. Our biggest nemesis is our strength. I've said it a billion times. I'm going to tell them a million times. I'm going to tell them again. I'm going to tell them again. So we've got to be able to improve in that area. But I'm very proud of the way they've worked, the way they've communicated, the way they've competed. So all that mission accomplished.
So next 2 weeks before the May evaluation period starts, do you sit and really dig into the film from spring camp, or are you evaluating 2016, 2017 prospects before you hit the road?
Our coaches next week they'll be all in next week, and then we'll go out and start our spring recruiting the week after that. So next week will be used as a combination of both of those, getting ourselves organized within spring recruiting. Our coaches will all sit down and have an individual meeting with each one of their young men. They have a little bit of a scale that we put together that lets them understand, you know, where we think they sit within the program, where they sit academically, where they sit socially. We talk about the positives and the negatives with each one of them. And then the next week I get an opportunity to meet with them. So it'll be meet with the kids, sit down and get a plan set for the spring recruiting of exacts. We know where we're going, what we're doing, but what are we exactly looking for in certain scenarios, and make sure we're all on the same page. And then we'll definitely dissect spring ball, not just today, but the whole spring practice.